Okay, you're watching the last problem from this particular packet. What are we given? Well, our vocab word is complementary. So what does it mean to be complementary? Do you have any theorems with that? Definition of complementary is what we had in our sheet. So by definition of complementary, we were able to say what it means to be complementary and set it up. If you need to go look that up or pause the video, pause the video and go look, at your sheet and try to figure that out on your own, feel free. Otherwise, we're going to go on and just say that measure of angle 1 plus measure of angle 2 equals 90 degrees. Well, I'm supposed to get a relationship with just angle 2 to say that it equals 60 degrees, or that its measure equals 60 degrees. But right now I have an equation with 1 and 2, and actually they had previously given me one with 1 and 2 as well. So I need to try to fit those together. What have we used every single proof in this entire packet to do that? So far, we've used replacement rule to do that in every single proof, if you haven't picked up on that. We've got to replace something for something else. And right now, I know what measure of angle 1 equals, so I can replace measure of angle 1 with half of measure of angle 2, which is really what I want. I want a relationship with just angle 2 in it. So let's get rid of that 1 in this equation. Replace 1 with 1/2 of measure of angle 2. Replacement rule. Well, how does that get me to measure of angle 2 equals 60? Well, it's got to be an equivalent statement to the one we have here. If this is going to be true, if it's going to be 60 degrees, somehow the equation I have here has to give me, when I solve it, has to be 60. So let's off to the side real quick. I've done this a couple times. Do a little bit of algebra. What if you had half of an x plus an x equals 90? Instead of angle 2, we'll just use x. Would x have to be 60? What's half of an x plus an x? You can write 3/2 x, or you can write 1.5 x, whichever you're more comfortable with. How do you finish solving for x? Divide by 1.5. Guess what you get? 60. Or maybe if you had 3/2, you could multiply by the reciprocal to get the 3/2 to cancel. 2 times 90 is 180. Divided by 3 would be 60. So you could do that a couple different ways. So I'm going to do those last couple steps here in the proof. But instead of x's, I'm going to say measure of angle 2's. So I have 1.5 measure of angle 2's, if you will. So what says I can just combine like terms? Well, if we were doing the algebraic proofs, you'd probably factor out the measure of angle 2 and do a bunch of crazy stuff. But right now, when we're doing some geometric proofs, just going to say that's algebra stuff. Fact of algebra, add a couple like terms, it's all good. And then that last step is dividing. What property says you can multiply or divide both sides of an equation by something so that we can we can divide both sides by 1.5. And that property is MPE, multiplicative property of equality.